Hey friends, welcome back to Dig Drive DIY. Well, it is early part of March here in Northeast Indiana and we've got a full spring started, so that means we're going to start in on what I like to call spring training. Every year around this time we start to pick up from the winter, pull the snow stakes out of the driveway, try to rake the stones out of the yard and get things ready for the grass to start growing, because even though it looks drab and dreary now, very soon we'll be mowing grass, within weeks probably. So in this video, I'm going to show you what we do to kind of prepare for spring. First things first, let's work on some snow stones, as I like to call them.
Dig Drive DIY.
Well, I don't know if you can tell or not, but every spring is marked by heavy winds. We get rains and wind. The wind is the sure bet, but we got to get some work done regardless. So my dad and my brother came over yesterday and I got my tractor mounted sweepster broom down from the barn and we hooked it up to my dad's 317, and fortunately I was able to get all the stones cleared out from along the roadway, because the county, when they plowed this year, since they resurfaced our road, there was a lot of loose stones that they plowed off the top of the road and got them all over the front of the yard. So fortunately the sweepster broom makes short work of it, and so most of that is done out there. But now I've got a few stones here in the yard that are from the snow blower, and so I'm going to take the handheld Milwaukee power broom and see if we can get them out of there. Oh, you remember when I had my friend Aaron here and he used the snow push box? Well, some of you were wondering about the giant snow pile that he made that looks like it was full of stones, and actually that thing's been melting down. You can see it right here as it was almost gone, and then finally today there's hardly no trace of it whatsoever. But there's still some in the yard here and we're going to tackle those right now. Okay, so this is my Milwaukee battery operated power head, and it's got a power broom attachment on it. I've got a gas powered one of these too, but the nice thing about this is there's no choke, there's no effort, there's no gas. Pull the trigger and she's going. So we're gonna see if we can get these stones out of the yard. So what I like to do, even though there's a lot of organic matter there that got bit out by the power broom, I'm trying to blow it out, and you can see the wind taking it through the corridor over there. Just try to get it distributed throughout the driveway. If you leave that piled up in one spot, that organic matter will break down and then you'll grow a lot of weeds right there. Plus there's all these maple tree whirligigs or helicopters or the seeds. It's hard to prevent those, but you want to just get them distributed as best you can. So I'll blow out all this grass and these whirligigs, and then I'll take the grater box and kind of redistribute throughout, and it'll be better. So the wind is blowing that way, so I'm going to start here and go. A lot of people ask how we keep the edges of our driveway, how do you keep the driveway looking so nice, no weeds in the driveway. It's just a lot of work. I mean, that's the unfortunate answer. It starts early on, so this would all produce really nice dirt. Once it starts breaking down, it'd be a great place for new weeds to start growing. So yeah, stones in the yard are always something to deal with after we've moved snow, but fortunately, the power brooms make it much less labor intensive these days. But don't worry, we're still going to get our exercise. Remember that wind I mentioned that we can always count on? Well, you can also count on it to bring unwanted field trash into the yard. And despite our best efforts to keep it in the field, well, nature finds a way. Pole stakes. There we go. No more fence. So I'm going to see if I can scoop it up into the wagon, because it'll be easier to scoop right there than it would be off the edge, See how thick it is? I vote for all beans, all the time. Not near as much trash. Okay, we're gonna go dump our first load here. Hopefully it'll dump it. Well, that was 2 hours of no fun, but it's way better than it was. We had a huge pile of them here on the pier that we cleaned up and got most of those, and then the ones we could reach anyway, and then it all started to drift across to the other side. So we moved over to the west side and got those. So it's something we kind of continuously have to battle, but fortunately, once the crops start growing, then that stuff kind of gets mitigated a little bit. It doesn't blow around as much. But that's enough for now. I think it's time to go grab something to eat, warm up, stretch out, and relax, because this was a workout. Got our exercise in today. So, okay, on to the next project. Spring training continues. Okay, this is what you call possibly an act of futility. So after cleaning out all the corn stalks in the pond, we ran to Menards and bought some snow fence, and we thought we'd at least try it once. See what we think. The cats are loving it. They love what looks like a great climbing wall, and it's not perfect, but it's worth a shot. We're gonna see if we can collect any corn stalks here. It's probably too close to the field. I'll pull it out before they plant beans, but yeah. They also say an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So is this hour and a half of prevention versus 4 or 5 hours of cleaning out the pond again? Because that was awful. So if it saves half the amount of work, we're time ahead. And I think the benefit of not having the stalks in the pond is a plus. We'll see. We're thinking about a permanent fence somewhere around the pond, but we've got to think through that and decide what we want to do. So this is our temporary solution. Once the beans are up, it's not nearly as bad. This field right here, in case you're curious, is no-till, obviously. That means that they leave all of the corn fodder and the crop residue on the field, and they don't till it, but they do minimal tillage here. They do when they plant their cover crops, because this field is planted to cover crops. They run a vertical tillage tool through this that has their seeder on it for the cover crops. And what that does is it chops up the corn stalks. It's like a disc with vertical blades, and it chops them up real fine, and it creates a lot more loose fodder as a result. So it's a conservation step to do the vertical tillage and plant the cover crop, but it was planted late enough in the fall that the cover crop really didn't get established. And so there's nothing here growing to help retain that field trash on top. So this is kind of what you get as a result, what you saw in the pond. Okay, it's enough for today. We've worked 7 days this week, every day doing something. We're gonna take a break. We're gonna go to the mall. Obviously, as you can see, we go to a lot of trouble every year to clean out the unwanted debris from our yard and pond. It's just something that unfortunately just keeps happening, and it's a bit out of our control. But plucking all those stones and corn stalks happens to remind me of the sponsor of this video, Incogni. Imagine every stone or corn stalk is a bit of your personal data on the internet. Online data brokers collect your information from multiple websites and then scatter it across the web, making you vulnerable to scams and loss of privacy. Without knowing it, bits of your personal information, such as financial records, home address, shopping habits, date of birth, or even your political affiliation, can be scattered to brokers and unwanted websites. And just like the corn stalks in our pond or the stones in our yard, it can be very difficult and time-consuming to get it all cleaned up. But unlike our spring cleaning, you don't have to do it alone. Incogni tracks down and removes your personal data from multiple sites, including online directories, personal search sites, and even commercial databases. Now, there are some limitations to what they can legally or technically remove, like information on government websites, for example, criminal proceedings and convictions, or social media accounts. But for countless other websites, the process is fully automated to go after hundreds of known data brokers, companies that collect and sell your data without your consent. Just like the debris in our yard, though, your data can reappear on those sites, so Incogni will repeatedly remove it for you. Plus, they have a new feature included with their unlimited plan called custom removals. Let's say you're like me and you've been using the internet for a long time, and one day you just decide to Google yourself. You might be shocked to discover how many sites publicly share your private information, but Incogni's custom removals can put a stop to it. Simply point them to where your data is being exposed, and their privacy experts will handle the rest. Take your personal data back with Incogni. Use code NEILKOCH at the link below and get 60% off their annual plan. Thanks to Incogni for sponsoring this video. Now, if I could just get them to help me clean up the yard too, we'd be all set. Well, spring training is coming to a close because we are just about ready to mow grass. And to me, that signifies the end of spring training. But there's just a few more things we need to do before we can mow. The first of which is to do some rolling. You see, in our climate, over the course of the winter, we get all these frost heaves, and it makes the surface all bumpy, like your skin when you get goosebumps. Imagine your yard having all these little bumps. It makes it super rough to mow with. Fortunately, I have a solution for that this year. We'll get it smoothed out. Now, I've had viewers in the past worry about the compaction that might occur from rolling your lawn, and that's a legitimate concern. The compaction is such that it isn't very deep. You're just pretty much flattening the surface, and if you've got a wide enough roller and a smooth enough drum, it won't really push the compaction too deep. That's what you want to avoid. Heavy equipment where the pounds per square inch are super high, like a sheep's foot or cattle, or that will do a lot of compaction. It'll squish the top, but the cost to benefit ratio is in your favor. It's much better to have it smooth than it is to worry about the compaction side of it. Let's put our little asphalt roller to use on the lawn. Should be kind of fun. Should be fun. So I got a bag and a half of this 2905. This also has a crabgrass preventer in it. This I'm going to use in the side yard where I know that I've really got good grass and I want to keep this crabgrass out of it. And then this is a bag of straight urea, and which is just 46% nitrogen. You got to be careful with this. It can burn the grass if you put it on too heavy. So we'll see where I'm at. I don't know that I'm going to use up all this stuff, but I'd like to just get rid of it. So I might just spread the urea with a super light coat when I'm all done. Some of these areas, I know there was some clover and crabgrass, and so I think that's why there's dead vegetation present, but the grass is sporadic, and I think it'll fill in just fine. Then there's other areas where I know there's like deer damage or rabbit damage, and they actually chewed the grass off down to nothing, bare dirt, and those spots we're gonna have to reseed. There's also these spots right here along the edge of the garden bed that, well, after I seeded them, they were perfectly fine. They looked fantastic. And over the course of the last 2 years, the grass has died out, and I'm not sure why, to be honest. So I'm gonna have to reseed this too. This was all beautiful here, and now it's looking terrible. So my yard is kind of getting in a bad state. So it's gonna take some effort to get it back, I think. Here's that spot we think is animal damage. Either the deer or rabbits just took it down to nothing. I think this was a bare spot in the snow or a thin spot in the snow, and for whatever reason they grabbed a hold of it. Here's another little patch, but they just ate all the vegetation away. So the areas of the yard that are struggling are the old growth, the areas that have been here long before we moved in, and we've just maintained them. And those are the ones where you get the non-grass species growing. And when you kill those off, like the clovers and the broadleafs, then you get these big patchy areas. And I can tell a definite difference between the old lawn and what I've seeded new. Because when we built the pond, you know, there was an area of the front yard that I reseeded, and that's looking pretty good. I have reseeded this yard here in the center, and I've reseeded this yard here next to the barn. This area in front of the barn is by far our healthiest grass. It grows the fastest, it's the best. I don't know how to explain it, but it's just the best. And this dirt, though, was brought in from somewhere else. This was farm ground that was brought in here. So it might have had some really good fertility in it. That could still be contributing to the difference. And then this yard out here, I filled up too. So there's been something going on in almost every area around our property, except for the yard in front of the house. I really haven't messed with that. I don't know. Not that you wanted to know all that about our yard's history, but just telling you what all's going through my mind as I try to figure out what's going wrong, especially in some of those areas that died out that were looking so good. I don't get that, and I'm supposed to know that kind of stuff, but I don't do it anymore, so I guess maybe I'm forgetting. But I remember how to run this fertilizer spreader. So this is a fertilizer spreader. I bought 3 or 4 of them. They were all in various states of disrepair. I took, of the 4, I made 3 that ran. I kept 1, sold 2. And so now we're going to use this self-propelled fertilizer spreader to go do the yard. I've got 1 bag of AMS in there. I'm going to run that in front of the house and see how it comes out. And then we'll just keep going from there to see how it turns out. If you want to see the video on the spreader carts, it was pretty cool. I'll have a link somewhere. All right, here we go. Maybe. Okay, I used up all my AMS. Now I'm going to do some of this 2905. This has got a crabgrass preventer in it. I'm going to put this around the pond. All right, well, that little spreader did a great job. I'm almost surprised at how easy it makes it to do. And I spread quite a bit of fertilizer. I just burned up and got rid of all those miscellaneous bags I had and kind of tried to crisscross, double pass, you know, do it the right way, if there was a right way. But now I'm going to take the leaf blower and blow the little prills off the concrete around the top of the pond, and then we'll just move on to whatever's next. I think we're almost done. It's about time for a rain and the first mowing. Well, if you couldn't tell it was nearly spring by looking out the window, you could certainly tell by listening out the window. The birds are in full effect, the sun has been shining, and we've had a solid 2 or 3 weeks of nothing but rain every other day. It's been wet. So ever since I put the fertilizer down, we've had some good, consistent rains, and the yard, man oh man, has it responded. Things are turning green, the trees are starting to bud out and look like they're coming online, and well, we're ready for that first mowing of the year. I like to get the mower out of the barn, get it greased up, check the air in the tires, and I'm going to sharpen the blades in the spring. Usually I pick it up with the tractor or the skid steer, but fortunately I was lucky enough to have a mini excavator available to lift up the mower deck. So now I'm going to jump in here and sharpen the mower blades. All right, well, I don't know how everyone sharpens their blades. This is traditionally what I've always done. Just sharpen them with a nice flap wheel disc on the grinder. And they seem to do pretty good. You get a really, really good edge on them. They may not be 100% consistent or perfect, but I don't know, the yard's not perfect, so it's not going to matter. You get more from just where the tires push the grass down and it doesn't get cut than you do from the blades. So this is good enough for me. Kara and I got to tear down the fence we put up, the temporary fence for corn stalks along the edge of the yard. We're going to tear that down before we mow, but we're almost there. Spring has sprung, so we'll get this stuff buttoned up and see how the yard looks now. Grass is getting pretty long out here. All the neighbors are mowing. We haven't had a decent break in the rain for at least a week, so it's time to mow, but it's time for us to deal with this failed experiment. So we tried to put a snow fence up along the edge of the cornfield here to try to keep corn stalks from getting to the pond, which you see behind us, or behind the fence rather. And it sort of worked, but the wind just sort of like destroyed it. It blew it over like this multiple times. We keep standing it up, but before we can mow, we need to get it torn down. So Kara and I are gonna strip this and rethink our plan for next year. I cheaped out on the posts and got the lighter weight ones, and obviously they cannot hold up to the wind. The wind is just brutal, especially over here. So we're either gonna have to do a fence closer to the pond itself or get something out here that's reinforced. We're thinking about a row of trees along here, a lot of different things to think about, and probably to get some feedback on, what do you think we should do? I think we need more land, because this is our property line. The grass is our property line. So if we had another bit of land this direction, we could add a couple rows of arborvitaes or something. That's what I'd like to see. Who knows? All right, well, we got to figure out how to pull the stakes. I think I'm going to use the Mini X, because I pulled one by hand, and it took some effort, and I don't feel like hurting my back when I got multiple ways to pull them out. So let's try that. All right, so these stakes, like 3 or 4 of them broke off in the ground, and it would have been a real pain to get them out of there, but I'm pinching them between the bucket and the thumb, and I'm getting them right out. There it is. Well, it took us about an hour, but we got the snow fence torn down, or the corn fence, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. The mini excavator made that easy pulling the stakes out. My back does not hurt at all, and I discovered that the mini excavator has a 2-speed tracks. I did not know that either. There's a little button on the touchscreen. So that was really cool. The hardest part of the whole job was actually rolling up the fence and finding a place to put it away. That was probably the hardest part. But now I'm going to do my form of relaxation. I'm going to jump on the mower and do our first real lawn mowing. So time to just sit back and think for a little bit. So cue the epic montage of the lawn mowing job, and then we'll see what it looks like when I'm all done.
The knobs and stuff are on Grandpa's side. So I'll show you the one that I copied.
Well, we wait all winter for the opportunity to mow grass again, and then before we know it, we'll be complaining about how often we have to mow grass. And that's just the nature of it. Spring training is an exciting time because you finally get outside after a long winter and all that cabin fever that's set in for so many months. Get out and breathe the air, and then within weeks, you're complaining it's too hot. That's the nature of it. I'd rather be outside any time of the year than being cooped up indoors for too long. And having the girls be a part of spring training has been a lot of fun too. It's just one of my favorite times of the year, and I hope the tradition continues on for many more. But I think summer has finally arrived. It was almost 80 degrees today, and tomorrow or the next day, we're supposed to be down in the 30s again for our evening lows. But we live in Indiana, what can you expect? But I hope you enjoyed getting a look at what spring training looks like for us. I'm sure you do something very similar, or maybe more, maybe less. Either way, I just want to thank you so much for clicking on this video. It means a lot to me and the family. If you want to support us over on Patreon, here's a QR code that you can scan with your phone, and that'll take you to the site. You can check it out. And the only thing left is to say thanks for watching. If I'm lucky, I'll see you in the next one. Good night. Good morning. Good day. Take care.
Because mushing and bushing is our favorite. Anyways, like making mud pies.
What are you doing?
Making mud pies. Making mud pies.
You got a heck of a mess. We're going to hose you off? Should we hose you off with a hose?
Splatter.
Oh man.